Call to order, Buhl City Council meeting, Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Mr. Jeffries, please take the roll.
Councillor Hadrava.
Here.
Councillor Loeffler.
Here.
Councillor Keeley.
Here.
Councillor Towner.
Here.
Mayor Carter.
Here.
All are here, quorum present. We may conduct the meeting.
Thank you, sir. I ask everybody join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag back here.
Flag with Mr. Jeffries.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries, is there any changes to the agenda as presented?
There are not.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving on to the Truth in Taxation public hearing. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We have a public hearing. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, everybody. We'll start with a presentation from staff. Mr. Jeffries?
Good evening, everybody. Council, everybody. This is the Truth in Taxation public hearing. This is a opportunity and a statutory requirement that gives all of you the opportunity to comment on Buhl's portion of the property tax statement. Please remember they're proposed at the moment, preliminary, and also this is where we discuss the 2024 budget preliminary and the levy preliminarily. So the council has been hard at work. You all are aware that we set the preliminary levy at $430,000 in September. And we have been meeting since then, the council and staff, to work on seeing what can be done, if anything, to reduce that levy that will be effective in January of 2024. As a result of those efforts and some good conversation, there has been a modification to this levy. It was previously $430,000. It is now $416,500. So it has been able to have been reduced by $13,500. The budget is made up of items from the general fund. That's a fund that gets levied to make it be balanced. Also the library fund. There's also a debt fund, which has mostly to do with bonds that the city may be encumbered with. There is what we call the designated budget, which is monies completely earmarked for those items in each designated fund. These are, in all practical purposes, reserve accounts to allow the city, when it needs to have funding in these areas when funding is needed from these areas. And then everything's rolled back up. So, in summary, the budget is combined with the general fund, the library fund, the debt fund, and the designated fund. The debt fund is pretty well non-negotiable. Nothing can really be done with that. The debt is set on the amount of money presently borrowed and the rates at which those have been set forth at. Again, the designated fund is a reflection and a recognition to suggest that there are items which there should be some reserves for in the future should those funding be needed for those types of elements or work that's in there. We have the library fund, and the library is a member of the Arrowhead Library Association. As such, the state has set a minimum funded amount that the city must give to the library operation. That is $71,977. You can round that to $72,000 if you want. That has to be the number minimum that the library receives. If it does not receive that amount, then our library could be pulled from the Arrowhead Library Association pool and would not then realize any of the benefits that that pool gives it. The city could opt at that point to operate a library completely independently, or they could opt to not have a library. I can't say whether there's a third option, which is to operate a library at a reduced level. I am not the librarians, I don't want to speak for them. I am not intimate with the nuances of funding needs for the library operation. So that brings us back to the general fund, which is what always takes the most attention and has the most elements. There's a number of them. You're familiar with a number of them, but I will read them off just so you know what elements are included in making up the general fund budget. It consists of city council, mayor, administration, elections, finance, legal, personnel, planning and zoning, city hall, law enforcement, fire department, fire station, building inspector, street department, snow and ice, public works buildings, recreation, campground, senior center, community center, Lake Leander, that's the camp up north, the cemetery, community development, and the Martin Hughes School, the former high school. That last item is a zero item, but we keep it on the ledger anyway. So there are no dollars associated with the school and have not been since fiscal year 2020. So to go back to where it all started, staff did their evaluation, their analysis, their research, their grabbing of figures for what's anticipated in 2024. You know, everything that is on the table has some kind of an increase in it typically. Pensions do, insurance does, et cetera, et cetera. So before the preliminary budget was proposed out to council, these items were individually evaluated and researched, and the 2024 budget numbers set to reflect that. Now, if in fact rates went up, there's no choice but to place the 2024 items higher. In those instances where things may have gone down, the budget numbers were reduced. So $430,000 was set as the preliminary. Now we are looking at $416,500. I want to walk over to the other side here just for a second. We have just a little visual to present for you this evening. This graph over here on the blue line represents the certified final budgets from 2015 through this coming year, through 2024 fiscal, in dollars. And that is on this left-hand side here. The orangey brown line is the rate of inflation in each of those years in percent, and that is over here on the right-hand axis. I guess the thing that jumps out to me in looking at this just as a tool is that for a long while, the budget kind of mimicked inflation. The budget line was always floating above the inflation rate. There were some changes made in 2020, 2021, 22, and inflation spiked. Now we find ourselves in a situation where these tails are turned around, it's reversed, and we have inflation outpacing the purchasing or the value of our dollars. So here's where we find ourselves now, where the budget is, in my words, under budgeted in relation to where inflation has been growing or trending to. So that's the purpose of showing that visual there. When we went into our latest set of workshop meetings, I will allow others to, if we wish, talk about strategy and reasoning as to why certain items were changed. But the biggest differences after a lot of conversation and thought and evaluation was, there was a comprehensive plan that had been set for renewal here in the city. That was actually considered a year ago, and it was held out a year ago. It was originally put into this budget. That has been removed. If a comprehensive plan update were to be done with the budget that's presented, it does not include funding for a third-party outside source to do that. If it's determined that the city still wants to go forward, I believe we have the talent and capability in-house to do it, take a pile of work, but that was able to reduce $12,000. We also took a deep look at what we're calling the designated budget. Those are the amounts for in reserve. I don't want to call it a savings account, but effectively that's what it is. And there were some adjustments made between the street and the capital unallocated lines in the designated budget that reduced another $3,000 or $4,000 of the total general fund budget. That, along with some miscellaneous less than $100 changes that came about because of some pension rate modifications, brought us to the ability to now come forward with a budget levy of $416,500. I believe that's what I have, Mayor, for my summary presentation.
Thank you, sir. Still trying to find the magic solution here. Diana, do you have anything to add to that? No. No? Okay. Thank you, staff. As far as I know, we have no other government agencies present, county, anybody else otherwise, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. We will move on to public comment.
And this will go in the order of, sure. If you signed up for public comment, we will take it in the order that names are on the list. Nobody signed up? Okay. Nobody has signed up for speaking on the truth in taxation hearing.
It's right there.
Mr. Jeffries, I think they signed up on the other one.
Oh, did you sign up on the citizens forum for the?
We didn't know there were two separates.
Diana, maybe you want to circulate this?
Can I just put the names on here? Or
Sure, why not?
just put your name?
Oh, to save time, can she just?
Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, Diane wants to ask questions.
Okay. Where's put your name down here? To the next on the list. That's okay. What else?
I think that's
Probably.
fine.
No, I saw you crossed out.
Cookie made cancer. Yeah, she may ask the same questions.
Okay, there you go. No further rest.
Thank you. We have 3 individuals who have signed up, and I'd like to call first on Mary Marcus.
Well, just got this tonight, but I'm going to make a comment about that, your levy and inflation. In my experience working at City Hall, the levy oftentimes, or the budget, isn't so much driven by inflation as it is by revenue, LGA. So, you know, a lot of times we get big LGA and sometimes it's cut. And this is a revenue and expenditure balancing act. So just a comment. I'm looking at your budget. Why a $26,000 decrease in administration?
Primarily, the decrease is in reflecting a lower cost of health insurance because of staff that's presently on administration, as well as a reallocation of a portion of all administrative expense out of administration and into funds that bear the work. Water fund, refuse fund, electric fund, sewer fund.
Don't you allocate your time to that anyway? We used to.
The time allocated is not reflective of the actual period of, the amount of time spent doing that work. So the solid theory behind this is to more accurately reflect the actual cost of operating those departments.
Well, we always did that.
We still are, we just increased it to reflect what we're actually doing.
City Hall, I'm assuming that is offset by revenue for your grant?
That's correct. We have $100,000 in that.
Okay.
And let me make a quick comment, Mary. Mary makes a good comment on the revenue side of the stream. The comment here is we have very few choices in revenue. We have very few opportunities for revenue right now, and several of the revenue streams, the amount of money that we get is not in our control. So Mary mentioned LGA, local government aid. That is one of the primary revenue items for the overall budget, and we are just not, we cannot change the amounts we get. So very hamstrung, very few other opportunities for revenue sources right now.
As I see on revenue, we did get an increase of about $140,000 for the year. Last year revenue was $632, this year it's $771. But is a lot of that, most of that grant for the City Hall?
That is $100,000 worth of it, for certain. There is also $28,000, Mary, which has come over from an intergovernmental transfer to the electric fund. That's advice of our auditor to move it from where it had lived in the electric fund over. So that's also reflected as a revenue stream. But there's also in electric a corresponding decrease of that same amount.
Rec up 9,200 for
I'm sorry, say again, Mary?
recreation, an increase.
Yeah, the
9,200.
primary reason for the almost the exclusive reason for the increase of $9,200 in the recreation fund budget, or not recreation fund, I'm sorry, recreation board budget, is in staffing. The rec board did not even exist 3-ish years ago for a while, and it was put back into operation, and that staffing includes winter rink attendants, 4 of them, and summer beach attendants, 4 of them. Those staffing costs come to like 9,000 of that 9,200.
We always paid for staffing at the rink and the beach.
There's been a few years where we haven't had, like during COVID, we did not have the beach house open, we did not have the rink house open. So there's been a few years where we have not even had, and there's been times where we have not had
Well, the budget,
people to work.
was 15,000, 17,000, 15,000. This year, for next year, it's going up to 25.
Because of
May I?
rink attendance.
So from the 15,000 for this year, if I remember right, that did include some staffing for summer labor and some for winter labor. So the amount we've increased those to was about 5,500 if you take into account the extra FICA and Medicare and stuff. Then also the administration allocation that they mentioned from the decrease in the administration department, some of that has been brought into the recreation department, I think about 2,000 of it. And then also we adjusted all departments across the board for increases in heating and electric,
Gas costs.
utilities and insurance. So I think if I remember right, the insurance was $400 increase and the utilities was $1,700.
Yes.
So that's where we get the about 9,000. So it's like I
So are you saying
mentioned,
you're allocating some of your time to rec?
to
Yes,
several departments.
like 0.5% or something like that.
Yeah. And that includes Diana's time too, if I remember
Yeah.
right. And that was split up between the cemetery, the senior center, the community center. Actually, Campground, yeah.
Campground, rec, senior center, and cemetery.
Okay, campground, that went up a little bit, but isn't that kind of fee related? Do you still collect fees for the campground, for people that camp?
Yes, we do.
So that's kind of revenue expenditure-y.
Well, I do believe, and council and administration have not really talked yet too much about this, but I do believe that some campground discussions are in order going into next year. A couple of things we have on the plate regarding that is, there's been a inordinate amount of effort to keep it neat and clean because of patrons who do not keep it neat and clean.
Correct.
And there's also been a request to try to increase the size of the campground itself. I believe that has merit to look into expanding the campground. There are needs by mostly folks that kind of do the redhead bike type of park over at the sort of Discovery Center. There's an we've got increasing interest in this rustic campground type of thing. Also, there's inordinate admin time, especially, an administration department that we're hoping we can find possibly a software-based reservation system that could replace the way we're doing it now, which would make it more seamless for the guests and patrons and make it more comprehensive for staff in the city in terms
Well, again,
of...
though, you don't want it to be a cash cow. You want the revenues you want it basically to pay for itself.
And that being said...
Revenue driven.
That being said, Mary, I believe you can expect hearing that campground fees should go up next year.
Sure. I'm a curler, was a curler, love it. What, up $6,000, what's,
Utilities primarily and repairs.
There's been nothing done at the club for years, and there's a lot of fixes that need to be done down there, like doors, and they haven't put any money into it, basically.
Community development, is that the fee that you're gonna pay ARDC for your comprehensive plan?
The Department of Transportation.
Now, that's a grant we received from Councilor Loeffler's initiative, the Department of Public Transformation. So we have $12,500 remaining in a grant that will need to be utilized in fiscal 2024.
So that's basically offset by revenue?
It is.
The increase in the 12.7?
Yes, it is.
That's it. I just want to comment on one thing. There's been some chatter on all things Buhl about a negative levy from last year. I'm not familiar with that term, but I did call the county and I asked what went on. Buhl received, it's called fiscal disparities, and that is a revenue sharing when other towns do well commercially, industrially, we get a part of that. We share in other towns' success as they would share in our success. And Buhl got money last year from fiscal disparities from the county, and that comes off of our levy. So basically, they pay for part of our levy for property taxes. The council last year did not do a negative levy. They decreased the budget. But this negative levy thing, I don't know where that came from, but just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you very much. Let me make a comment on fiscal disparities. Mary's exactly correct. Fiscal disparities are enjoyed in the 7-county metro area and on the Iron Range. And there have been, it ebbs and flows, as Mary kind of hinted at with the success of cities. So we took a hit last year, and this year we just got our fiscal disparities numbers.
We do have them.
Moderately up $17,000.
Excellent.
So that is going to decrease the levy.
Well, technically it doesn't, because it doesn't get taken into account in the city's budget, if I remember right. It comes off of what the taxpayers pay in the long run.
Correct.
Yes.
But it doesn't really change the levy
No.
amount, the amount that, yeah, we have to
No,
pass on.
it
to-
affects what people pay.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. It's just
So our
the next step
taxes will
down the
go
road.
down.
I mean, I think the number was about 17,000.
17 and change.
And this fiscal disparities above what we had last year, so I don't know if that'll make it go down enough, but it'll help.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes, Mary, I'd like to thank you for your attention to detail. Thank you. All right.
The next individual is Ross.
Yeah, I got a question. My taxes went up 30.
Excuse me, hold on a sec. For the record, could you identify your name and your address?
Gary Ross, 408 Whiteside, Buhl, Minnesota. I'm living in a 68-year-old house. My taxes went up 31,000. The house is probably worth 30. And when it goes up, my insurance goes up. They say to build my house now is $240,000. And I called my insurance guy and I said, how come it's so high? I said, well, my house is worth $50,000 and you charge me to replace it at $240,000. I said, I'm gonna die pretty soon. I don't need that much money. And why do they keep doing this to people?
Okay, so your answer, your question's a very good one, Mr. Ross. We had similar discussions earlier in the year when we had what we call the LBAE, Local Board of Adjustment and Equalization hearing. Simply put, these numbers are all based on the valuation of real estate. Real estate valuation is based on how much things are selling for. We have been in a hyper exaggerated real estate market, as you just gave us an example of. So when somebody has the opportunity to get twice or more of what their house is worth in 3 days or less when they put it on the market, that kicks into the calculation and kicks everything up. And that's what we've been experiencing. That's what the county has indicated they have been experiencing countywide. If I recall the Buhl number, valuations in the city, 83% on the average, they went up. So a $100,000 house 2 years ago is like $185,000 now. That's it's all because of the real estate market and completely out of any other control. And that gets your insurance, and that comes back, and then it hits the property taxes because everything is based on that taxable market value.
Yeah, because I'm getting punished. Everybody's got a nice house. Down here, they sold the house, they wanted $225 for it. The realtors pumped them up, $325. So my taxes go up. That's not right.
So I want to remind everybody at this point that when it comes to valuations, that it's St. Louis County that you should be turning your comments toward.
Well, that's why they should have one here at the meeting.
Yeah. And so it's the assessor's office.
Yeah, right.
Get a hold of the assessor office and give them your comments, and that's
Yeah,
all
but I thought that's what
valuable.
the meeting's for, that, you know, they usually have one here.
Well, that was
It's usually in April.
That's the April LBAE meeting when they talk about those valuations.
Yeah, but it all ties together.
Yeah.
It honestly does. And so the meeting Tony's talking about,
It's for the following.
we asked the county, you know, how do you keep following the market and you keep valuing everything so high. So what directs the county to do that? Well, they cited Minnesota state statute. So if that's the case, the county's bound by state statute with their formula of valuation by following the market. The county is just following what's handed down by the state of Minnesota. And that creates an environment where everybody's hands are tied on it. I mean, we had long conversations in that meeting about that. And our hands are tied on it. It follows the market. It's the way it works is set by the state and passed down through the county, and I haven't been able to find any solutions to that.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Ross?
Instead of putting all these new houses up, you guys should put some stations for electric cars. You'll make more money probably on revenue than anything.
Let me ask a question of everybody. How much does it cost to put in one electric car charging station? There are 3 types of chargers.
Right.
There's the regular one, there's a little bit better one, there's the super one. Okay? How much do you think it costs for a charging station?
$1,000,000.
Huh?
$1,000,000.
I've heard it's like 100,000 for the rapid chargers. And as far as I know, there's not a lot of funding available.
You should probably put in for it, you know, see if you can get some grants early.
We'll make a note of that, absolutely.
Well, on that note, we are trying to pursue development of what we're calling a business development south of the highway there. If we can get the infrastructure out there and get at least the highway frontage lots marketable, and we can get businesses in there, that will ease the burden of the residentials in town. And I think my thoughts are that highway frontage out there should be a gold mine. You know, I'm not saying we're gonna get the biggest, best, we're not gonna get a Cabela's and those sort of things. But we're centrally located with the biggest road in the area. I mean, there's tons of traffic. You can see what Shortstop does phenomenally. So if we can make that happen, I think that's gonna be the best thing for this town, you know? And that will ease this here. And council is open-minded. Council's willing to explore every avenue of revenue that we can. I mean, the city can only generate revenue in like a few ways, and there's some that we haven't capitalized on yet. And there's been discussion, there's been ideas, and we're trying to find ways to get there and use every opportunity to generate revenue that we can. And hopefully someday we'll get there and be able to utilize each one of them.
And then maybe I can make a quick statement about the highway. For those who don't know, this is all very, very preliminary, but in probably 2026, the highway's gonna have, in this area, some major work done to it. And it's gonna change the behavior of the highway just a little bit, the way it is right now. In Chisholm, there's likely going to be 2 roundabouts installed. One by Minnesota Discovery Center and the Highway 73 that goes into town on the west, and then the other down where the road in on the, where you go by the lakes are. And then over in Mount Iron, over by Walmart, there's discussion to replace those intersection with the traffic light with roundabout. Should that happen, which is what we understand is the design plan at the moment, that's probably going to slow the highway down a bit. So behavior will change a little bit. People may not be going 75, they may be going closer to 60-ish. And that may change how people get off the highway to stop and shop or enjoy goods and services. That'll be coming into it.
Faster between the turns because you're trying to make up time.
He's not wrong.
Human nature.
It is human nature.
In case y'all didn't know, that's the long-term highway plan for 169 as it sits right now.
Thank you, Tony. Sir, do you have anything further? I wish we had a solution to this valuation thing, and trust me, I'm looking for the same solution too. I mean, I think we all are. It's a cycle that it has to end at some point. And I don't know.
Well, one more thing, if you ever get a chance to get the school back, I'd take it back and have it put what do you call that out here, like a truck stop. And I think you'd make all the money in the world. And you could have the truck drivers, what are these truck drivers, where are they gonna start getting their power, when they come up here? When they come from the cities, they go 200 and some miles, they'll have to have a place to plug them in, and they're pushing them trucks pretty much now. Even got them at the mine, some of them now, with electric trucks, but they have to charge them, like you say, every, because they don't stay, and stuff, much of a charge, and you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
And I was thinking maybe you could put them people at the school sometime and have a cafeteria for all the truck drivers. They can make all kinds of money. But I'm so old I can't worry about nothing anymore.
All right.
Okay, that being said, then I'd like to call on Diane Mackey.
Yes, I just would like that.
Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Diane Mackey, 107 France Street, Buhl, Minnesota.
Thank you.
So it would have been nice that if we had all had a copy of the budget so we could look at that, because there was only one copy for the audience or the residents to look at. And we're sharing.
Apologies for that.
Oh, that's great. The other thing is we have 65 acres, I believe, is still true behind the Buhl School. Is there any looking at that as a place to maybe put homes or businesses?
Absolutely, absolutely. Tony, would you like to touch on
Thank
our
you.
initiatives?
Sure, I'd love to, Mayor Carter. Ms. Mackey, probably not the best area for business, but absolutely for residential. We have preliminarily established the design concept for possibly up to 50 to 55 lots. And these would be for new residential development, focusing on workforce housing as the biggest need that's been identified at the moment. But it could be a mixture of different types of housing. There are people within our near area who are getting displaced for a reason, one reason or another, that will need other places to seek to live. So later in the regular council meeting tonight, when we ask for approval of doing some infrastructure work, you'll hear the business park on the highway brought up, but part of that infrastructure work will put the seed in for what may be a residential expansion down the road a little piece here. The zoning and the layout of the town, the way it is, does not appear to make that a good area necessarily for, like I say, business or commercial development, but definitely for residential. However, we have approached St. Louis County, and we're very hopeful that in the next couple of years or so, we may get the opportunity to have another road connecting Highway 169 with Highway 125, and that would be back in that area, which would then help alleviate business and commercial traffic coming through town as it always has. Whether it goes down Pennsylvania Avenue to Forest Street to Culver to get up north, or whether it comes to straight up Forest Street to Culver to get up north. This part of that new roadway would be intended to decrease, if not eliminate, these larger commercial vehicles coming through town all the time. And should that happen, there'd be another main straight line corridor that could serve as a great commercial or business development incentive for possible further business or commercial development growth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're definitely looking into it. Like I said, the idea of developing businesses on the highway, that's revenue for the city that it doesn't have yet. That's not something Buhl has seen. Like I always compare Buhl and Nashwauk. If you drive by Nashwauk on the highway, you can see all the business that Nashwauk has, and then you drive by Buhl and we have a short stop. And developing that is gonna help a ton with what we're dealing with right here. I mean, I don't have numbers on tax revenue off of commercial lots with me, but it's a lot more than residential, that's for sure.
Ms. Mackey, do you have anything else?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Carter, that is all the individuals that have signed up to participate in the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Thank everyone for their comments. The input from the public is very valuable to this council. I think I can speak for everybody here, and we appreciate it. Does council have any comments? Any discussion? I have a question. Is this what we have in front of us here, what's presented today, this is the most current after the last working session, correct?
It's dated 12/4 on the bottom right-hand corner.
12/5.
12/5.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that that's been updated since the last working session.
It
Okay.
has, Mayor Carter.
Thank you, sir. Okay, nothing from council? And do we have a motion to close the public truth and taxation hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Back to the regular Buhl City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. On to reports from department heads. Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. City Engineer Jamnik, do you have anything to report, or do you just want to take it up under the agenda items?
Just agenda items, thank you.
Thank you. Finance Manager Thronson, do you have anything to bring to the table? Thank you. I will serve for the fire department tonight.
Excellent.
A couple of items coming up with the fire department. First of all, they have identified an individual that they would like to consider adding to the department. And the individual is very interested in doing so. So the department will go forward, and administration will go forward with requesting background check be begun and completed. And if everything goes according to plan there, we will come back at the next council meeting on December 19 to request approval to hire contingent upon successful completion of all other paperwork and required pre-employment criteria. All right? And the other thing the fire department is very proud to be announcing is on December 20th at 5 p.m., Santa and others will be at the fire hall and would love every kid and youth and child and teen and all of us teens who aren't really teens any longer to go down and say hi to them and enjoy some some hot chocolate and some candy, what have you. December 20th, 5 p.m., probably till about 7, at the fire hall for a little Christmas cheer.
Excellent.
And I, from my end, do not have anything this evening further.
Thank you, sir. On that note, is that something we can get to the website front page?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. On to Citizens Forum.
So we have, is there anybody who wants to address the council as a regular citizens forum other than what's already been done at the...
I'm just going to have
Taxation?
one comment.
Sure, Mary
And then I'll
Marcus.
leave you alone. I'm looking at this budget and I see money being moved around into water, sewer, electric, and garbage. And people need to understand that that's fee-driven by the people of Buhl. So I think you need to be careful with those funds and how you're taking money from them. Because there's no difference if you pay property taxes or if you're having to raise rates in utilities to pay for what you did here. So I just want to make that comment.
Let me respond to
Can I
Mary.
keep this, or you want it back?
If anybody else wants to look at it.
So I just have that comment.
Thank you. May I respond quickly to that comment?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mary's comment is a good one. Again, let me remind everybody, we're trying to more accurately reflect the actual costs of operating those departments. For instance, I think you all know that Diana spends a considerable amount of her time on utility work, water, sewer, electric, refuse. The allocation of her compensation was far below the amount of time that she spends actually doing that work. So when we want to go into a rate study, or if we want to try to understand how much it really is costing us, it's undervalued because we're not reflecting the amount of time being spent on those specific items, water, sewer, electric, refuse. And that is the reason we have reallocated to, again, to attempt to more accurately reflect the actual cost of operating those departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Mrs. Marcus, thank you for being so detail-oriented. I appreciate it.
Thanks, good night.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? No? Moving on to the consent agenda. A, the minutes, regular city council meeting, November 21st, 2023. City council working session, November 29th, 2023. Special city council meeting, November 30th, 2023. Claims, payroll number 24, $13,652.11. Accounts payable in the amount of $42,076.38 for a total of $55,728.49. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. On to business. Item A, approval of partial payment estimate number 3 for construction services for the Damien Addition Phase 3 project, number 22-059, in the amount of $104,015.97 to 2EZ Incorporated, DBA Joel and Sop Excavating. The city has received a partial payment estimate for construction services performed by 2EZ Incorporated, DBA Joel and Sop Excavating, related to the Damien Addition Phase 3 project. This partial payment estimate is related to services rendered for the period of estimate from November 16th, 2022 through October 28th, 2023, and includes services related to the base bid, Franklin/Burnett, as well as the add alternate Seville, Jefferson, Woodbridge construction activities. Specifically, these charges are identified in the amount this period columns contained on pay estimate number 3 attached to this memorandum. John is with us to answer any questions. Staff's recommendation is to follow through with payment. Do we have a motion to approve payment of partial payment estimate number 3 for project number 22-059 to 2EZ Incorporated, DBA Joel and Sop Excavating, in the amount of $104,015.97. Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
When do they want to come back and get the rest of their money?
I didn't say I didn't hear the question.
You just said, when do they want to come back and get the rest of their money?
Yeah, well, obviously it'll be in the springtime.
Thank you guys for all you do. Bye, Mug.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries, you have anything to add to this agenda item?
Mayor Carter, I do not. There does remain a fair amount of the contract value that is still out there, and that will be reflected in the spring work.
Thank you, sir. Council have any further comment, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Item B, Buhl Business Block, the formal South Industrial Park. Approve and authorize proceeding with pre-design and engineering design initiatives for development and infrastructure build-out. The city and BEDA, the Buhl Economic Development Authority, has been discussing the status and future of the South Industrial Park throughout 2023. These lands are owned by BEDA. To date, it has been suggested to change the name to Buhl Business Block to reflect an ultimate end use of these lands as more business and commercially oriented rather than industrially oriented. The city has obtained funding to assist in furthering the water and sewer infrastructure of the city and has recently applied for additional funding which would initiate improvements and development initiatives in these lands. Apologies. To move these initiatives forward, the administrator has requested and received a proposal from the city engineer to begin these development activities. This proposal, including a cost element, $53,000 plus construction management costs, and a schedule beginning December 2023, complete November 2024, is for engineering. The approval of this action is ultimately up to the city council. However, please take note that BEDA recommends that the city council move forward regarding these initiatives. Do we have a motion to approve and authorize the city engineer to undertake pre-design and design services for development and build out of the Buhl Business Block? Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. Just to touch on this, we had some discussion in BEDA about this. And there's some ideas thrown around of what we've seen for preliminary stuff as far as the layout of that park and routing of utilities and things. There are some new ideas brought up from BEDA that I think we're going to be working on incorporating into what we have thus far.
That's correct.
I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. So what was seen here, there's some good ideas that came of it, and those will be applied, and we'll see back from that. Either way, the motion here is to put into place the engineering and everything from the engineers so that we can get moving forward on it. Sorry, I'm a little tired, guys, if I can't explain things very good. Working long shifts. I just wanted you to be aware that what we've seen on paper so far may change a little bit in the routing of where the utilities are going. That's about it, right? Did I get that right?
Where would the funding come from
The funding?
to pay for the 53,000?
Councilor Loeffler, the funding for the entire project, or the
No.
funding for this?
For this?
Built into the entire project funding as we speak, right? Last meeting, we talked about the entire project fund amount. Engineering and construction management services are included in that estimated amount. So you cannot really separate funding for this package of services from the remainder of the project, because they kind of go hand in hand there. So funding for the whole project, that's what we continue to work on. We have hopes for some funding possibly from the IRRR. We have some bonding funding waiting for us to put into place, and we'll continue to identify and go and seek out any other additional funding sources that we can make work with this. There will be, at some point, I think everybody realizes this to some degree, there will likely be, I should say, some city cost because there always needs to be some matching. However, working on trying to make those city costs as the eligible bonding proceeds that we have in hand.
Any further comments?
I had a quick question. How many hours goes into putting one of these engineering plans together, roughly? I see the bills.
Engineering plans?
Yeah, I see the bills 43.2, but I mean, that's gotta be a lot of hours, a lot of man hours, a lot of different people.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a schedule, it takes about a month. We figured we'd have engineering plans done in January.
Okay.
It takes about a month of our time to put the package together, then you gotta, you'll go after the permits, we need MnDOT permits to
Right.
work within the highway right away and cross. And one thing we have in the South Industrial Park, which is now the business block, is there's some wetlands down there. You know, our intent is to continue to avoid them, we avoided them in the past, so, you know, if there's any permitting issues with wetlands, we may have to. That wetland delineation was done, maybe 10 years ago, I don't recall, but we'd want to avoid any wetland impacts, so we don't have those things. So about a month, I think we had in our schedule. And then we would do the replatting of that area too, and get that all recorded with the new lot configuration too, so.
Okay.
You know, show a cost estimate, about 8%, 4.5%, 4.8% of the construction cost is, you know, a lot of times you see costs between 5 and 8%, but we're very, very familiar with the area, so
Right.
we were able to, you know, include that when we gave the city a budget here.
So I have a question in regards to that, John. The engineering plans, the cost to the city is based off a percentage of the total cost of the project. So if what we have preliminary plans for out there, if things were changed and reduced the amount of work on engineering is reduced, that cost will be reduced to the city, correct?
Well, we got it based on the $1.1 million project.
Okay, I got you.
So if you cut it in half, yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm just curious because,
minor adjustments, you know.
yeah, I'm just curious because what we spoke about in Beta was getting the highway frontage operational and the industrial road, I believe that's called, operational, and building the rest of it out
Oh, you mean the frontage
as
road?
we go.
Frontage road off the highway? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
the ones facing the highway and then the ones along the road that's there by ODC. And-
Right, so.
And building out the interior over time
Right,
as we
so-
move forward.
So this proposal from JPJ Engineering was received the day of the PETA meeting,
Yes, yep.
and that was Thursday. So this being the following Tuesday.
Yeah, I understand
We
everything.
we haven't gotten back together yet. However, you're right. The intent of the request for action tonight is to authorize me or the engineer to get going.
Mhm.
It does not necessarily put a dollar figure in stone on that.
Gotcha. And that's where my question was. I mean, this is with what was,
Preliminarily discussed,
Gotcha,
right.
okay.
There are quantities that were identified in the preliminary concept that we have worked on together.
Mhm.
If those quantities change, you can anticipate that the project price will change up or down,
Mhm.
depending upon if the quantities go up or down.
Gotcha. I just ask questions because I am new to the idea that, like, under the engineering plans line item, it's a percentage off total cost. I wasn't aware that that's how some of them line items come to how you get those totals.
Well, I just showed it as a percentage of the construction. I'm not, we can contract it whatever way you want. You want
Well,
to base it on a percentage or a lump sum, but, we just based on, the size of the project in terms of dollars on what it typically takes to do it, so.
Gotcha. But under construction management, that's a set percentage of the total cost. That's how engineering operates, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, there you got, we put a full-time RPR on site.
Yeah.
That's where the 8% is kind of a,
Okay.
industry average for a construction type project, so that's why we just showed that.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, this is the moment, council. With this motion, to put it in layman's terms, we're pulling the trigger on the business development, correct?
For pre-design and pre-development activities, correct.
Well, that's spending $1, so, I mean, the first dollar that's spent, we're doing it.
Get the minutia pounded out so we know. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second, correct? Sorry, I'm tired, guys. If I get over, I don't know, if I talk too much, just let me know. Apologies. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Sounds like you have work to do, John.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, item C, approval of 2024 membership to RAMS. The Range Association of Municipalities and Schools was created in 1939 by the joining together of the Range Civic Association and the Range Municipalities Committee to promote legislation beneficial to its memberships. The main function of RAMS is to monitor proposed state and federal legislation and determine how it may affect association member units of government. The Range Association of Municipalities and Schools works closely with Iron Range Delegation, the Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Board, and area economic development entities to further community development and quality of life for all member units. City of Buhl is a longtime member of this organization, as are most cities, townships, and school districts throughout the Iron Range. Please note that membership dues for 2024 have been set at $840, up from $700 in 2023. We have a motion to approve membership in the Range Association of Municipalities and Schools for 2024 in the amount of $840.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Are we supposed to have a city rep for RAMS that's supposed to be delegated in December?
Councilor Keeley, not necessarily. There had been participation on the RAMS board at different times in the past by Buhl. In this instance, I will say that there are 12 people up for 11 board seats on RAMS for this next 2-year cycle. So nowhere did I encounter anything that said we have a place at the table. So I would suggest that in the past, as a result of conversation or interest, an individual would say, I would like to be on the RAMS board, or the body decided maybe at that time they wanted that. So that being said, actually the nominations close December 1, so you might want to keep that in mind for next year.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, because I was told that we missed the boat this last year. And so I'm like, okay, here we are December again, well, we missed it again.
I
So-
see. Okay. I did not advise we accelerate that.
And everybody should know that they can go to these meetings, so
That is correct.
if you want to see what this is about.
I will say that Most of our legislative contingent is active in working with Rams. They have been around for almost 90 years. They do legislative lobbying on behalf of the range area, the community area. It does have some fringes, like the IRR has fringes a little bit outside of our direct area, so does Rams. But they effectively lobby at each legislative session, not only for municipal needs, but in great deal for school district needs. And I think I see right now at least an equal sharing of their efforts for school districts versus the municipalities.
I'm done.
Are you?
Me too.
My opinion is we stay involved in Rams.
We do.
I mean, from what I've learned in my path here, my career in politics, I've sat down with all kinds of people and if the range wants to survive, we have to stick together. We have to work together, and it doesn't matter political parties. When we send our representatives down there, they need to work together. And organizations like this help all of that. So I'm an advocate for anything like Rams. We're all in it together.
And we've all got the same problems.
And we all have the same problems. All right, any further comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. All right, on to item D. We have resolution 23-69 for the city to accept donations to the City of Buhl Recreation Board. 2 anonymous donors have offered donations totaling $380 to the city's recreation board as financial contributions to help offset costs related to the City of Buhl sponsored recreational activities and events. We have a motion to authorize the city to accept donations from the 2 anonymous donors to the Recreation Board as financial contributions to help offset costs related to City of Buhl sponsored recreational activities and events in the amount of $380 to execute Resolution 23-69 concerning the same and to acknowledge these donations with appreciation.
A motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you to the 2 anonymous donors. Excellent. Wonderful.
Well, the one was actually from the Halloween party, the donation bucket.
Oh, really?
It was
So
several
it's
donors.
community.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
many
okay.
people that helped us to that one.
Well, thank you, everybody. That's wonderful. Excellent. All right, council, any further discussion? Mr. Jeffries, being this a resolution, will you please take the roll?
Councilor Hadrava,
Yes.
Councilor Keeley,
Yes.
Councilor Loeffler,
Yes.
Councilor Towner,
Yes.
Mayor Carter.
Yes.
Motion carries and is so ordered.
Thank you, sir. Item E, consider letter of support for the candidacy of 7th District St. Louis County Commissioner Mike Jugovich for membership on the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources, the LCCMR. Mike Jugovich has indicated interest in seeking membership on the LCCMR. Mr. Jugovich, being of the 7th District, represents the City of Buhl in matters concerning St. Louis County. The LCCMR is made up of 17 members, 5 state senators, 5 state representatives, 5 citizens appointed by the governor, 1 citizen appointed by the Minnesota Senate, and 1 citizen appointed by the Minnesota House of Representatives. The function of the LCCMR is to make funding recommendations to the legislature for special environment and natural resource projects, primarily from the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund. These projects help maintain and enhance Minnesota's environment and natural resources. The LCCMR developed from a program initiated in 1963 Since 1963, approximately $1 billion has been appropriated to more than 2,400 projects recommended to the legislature by the Commission to protect and enhance Minnesota's environment and natural resources. Do we have a motion to acknowledge the interest of 7th District St. Louis County Commissioner Mike Jugovich for membership on the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources, and to prepare and submit a letter of support from the City of Buhl regarding the same?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I would like to say, Mr. Jugovich, anywhere we can put him, he's an advocate for the area. The guy loves it here. He loves Buhl. He loves the Iron Range. And to have an individual who lives here and he's a member of our community, and to put people like that in positions where they create a voice for our people, his constituents, all of us. We can put him in a position where he can help influence what happens with our natural resources around here, whether it be preservation or, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jeffries, discussions of probably permitting on mining issues, correct?
That's correct. That's correct, Mayor Carter.
And for having somebody like Mike there, that's a huge advantage for the whole area. And I hope I don't sound like I'm loving Mike too much, but he's a heck of a guy, and I'm all in favor for this.
I agree. I think he's a huge asset. He's a huge asset, and I think that
Yeah,
would be good, great.
I wish we could place him in more places.
He's done a lot to support Buhl. It's time we return the favor.
That's right, agreed. Excellent, well, thank you to Mr. Jugovich for the willingness to serve his community in more ways. That's amazing. Anything further? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor Carter?
Yes, sir.
Because I'd just like to ask whether or not council is comfortable with me drafting that letter, or whether individually or collectively you all want to see it before it goes anywhere.
Not to speak for everybody, but I think you speak and write much more eloquently than we do, so you should definitely draft the letter.
What he said.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. All right, item F, invitation for elected officials to attend the North St. Louis Soil and Water Conservation District Open House on December 13th, 2023. City Council has been invited by the North St. Louis Soil and Water Conservation District to attend its open house for elected officials on Wednesday, December 13th from 1 to 4 p.m. at its offices located at 505 3rd Street North, Suite A. Is that correct?
Yes.
In Virginia, Minnesota. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that in addresses very often. North St. Louis Soil and Water Conservation District, the SWCD, is a local government agency providing conservation and resource management services. In cooperation with federal, state, and local agencies, the district provides technical assistance, cost sharing, and natural resource management information and education. Landowners, businesses, industry, and agencies may request these services. There's some information attached for council. The mission of the North St. Louis County, the mission of the North St. Louis Soil and Water Conservation District is to encourage sustainable use of our natural resources by engaging people in soil and water conservation in northern St. Louis County.
So Mayor Carter?
Yes, sir.
That's just an invitation, if anybody wants to go. I intend to be there. I have worked with soil and water conservation districts in my past, and I believe they may be a pretty good resource to utilize. Engineer Jamnik kind of brought it up, There's a number of wetlands down in the business block area. Coming up with a cohesive approach and plan for wetland management would be helpful. So this is one of the agencies that would be helpful in being helpful.
Well, water conservation is kind of a big thing, being we have the finest water in America. Is this a RSVP event, do you know, Mr. Jeffries?
It
Or
does
is
not
this-
appear to be. It
Okay.
appears to be show up at 1 o'clock to 4
Yeah.
o'clock at their offices on Wednesday, December 13th.
That's what I'm seeing too. Excellent. Council, staff, if you can make it, please do. All right, moving on, item G. Guess this one's up for discussion. Schedule a working session for 2024 budget initiatives.
Maybe I could take that.
Yeah, Mr. Jeffries, you wanna, well,
I would like to have a date set for a budget council workshop if needed. If not, we should adopt the budget and levy next meeting on the 19th, unless the intent would be to have an individual special meeting before the end of the year to do that. Otherwise, we put it on the 19th agenda. If you feel we need another budget workshop, I'd like to set a date for that. If one is needed, that would be the question.
We kind of talked about that the last meeting, we didn't think we would. We have
No.
it right at the 19th, so we didn't have
Yep.
any extra costs to put onto the city.
Definitely put this on the agenda. Wanted feedback on the truth and taxation hearing before we considered that. We've had the hearing, you've had the feedback, so it would be your call as to whether you believe another session is needed or not.
I don't see it, I guess. I don't know what you guys are.
Wouldn't say I'm happy with where we're at, but I don't see a better option. I think we're at where we should be at.
well, we still have time between now and that. If something miraculous came up and
We do.
there was a change we had to make to what we've pretty much came to the last working session, I think we're all in agreement on. We're there.
We will be having a Public Utilities Commission meeting on this Friday, the 8th, and that will be to discuss a little bit deeper the CIR-SSD budget for next year and what the city should be doing with rates going into 2024. Because those rates, if anything is done, should be also addressed at the December 19th council meeting. So that being said, there should be at least a 3-day notice if we have a working session. Keep that in mind. We do not, excuse me, we do not necessarily have to have anything additional on the early agenda for December 19th. You know, there is the opportunity for adding or amending the agenda at the meeting. Not my first recommendation, but
If something
that's
comes
fair.
up, it is available. I think, council, is council in agreement that anybody think that we should hold another working session for this?
Well, personally, after listening to tonight, I don't see anybody came up with any changes that we
Right.
can actually make on here.
Yeah,
I feel we've
And I was-
done due diligence on here. I don't see where we can make any other changes. This is personally myself, and I didn't hear
Yeah.
it from them either.
and I was kind of hoping, I mean, we have some very intelligent people in this town. I was kind of hoping somebody would have got their hands on this and came here tonight and went, why don't you guys try this? And it was the miracle where none of us want to pay tax, you know? But this is an honest representation of the operation, the cost of operation for the city for the fiscal year. I mean, I think we're there. Staff, agreed?
I agree. I mean, we're down there.
And hopefully next year the economy will go the other way and be beneficial and things are better. And the county quits valuing homes so high.
Well, just not in our town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I think council's in agreement, we do not have to schedule another working session.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item H, other business. Do we have any other business? Hearing none, councilors' comments. This is when you guys take the floor.
I'm going to just ask the question, on the next agenda, are we going to put the recommendation who we're going to put at the Iron Range Central Sanitary Sewer District?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. The second one is, and it's not necessarily recreational, but I just want you to know that the curling club plant is up and running. And I push that a little bit more because it is more like a revenue for our city because it brings in a lot of people usually
does.
for different events. And so I'm happy to know that this plant is running for the time being and hopefully it'll stay that way for the year. But
Thank you.
that's where it is. And then I'll let Renee talk about what they had there. Usually in the month of December, they don't have anything but the curlers. And this year, they asked if there could be a couple events held there down at the curling or the community center. And Curling Club said, yeah, go for it and take it.
Well, we did porch pots
Saw that.
on Sunday the 3rd, and it was a lot of fun. And it actually, from what it sounds like, the person who put it together, she got a lot of like free bows and like different. I even went out with a friend, cut some like things in his property and stuff like that. But yeah, and the porch pots looked amazing, and it was a lot of fun. So
Good.
yeah, it was a good time.
You gotta have something.
I got nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Randy,
No, I'm good.
you good too?
Can I just add one more thing?
Yes, you can.
I know that, back to this budget, people don't always do how things were done in the past. And, when you're looking for new ideas of how to maybe try something or how you guys decided to do these things, it's a trial. You've looked at I kind of heard, you can't do that, what you guys were doing, but I know you can, and we've checked into it. And I just want everyone else to know that what they're doing tonight with the budget and the administration and Diana's position is okay to do. I mean, we can move it around to different departments, and it does allocate these things in the right way. Might not have been done in the past, but these are just things that we looked for as a council and decided that we're going to do it this way. And
It's more accurate for everything.
yeah, and again, everyone has to give us a chance to do this stuff and make the changes. And in the future, there's going to be more changes that not everybody might not understand, but we're not doing it to do anything wrong. We just want to give it a try, and it is the right way to allocate an administration's jobs to show where they are actually spending their time. So I should have said it before that when everybody was here, because I could see there was some words being said about you can't do this, but you can do this. So I needed to clarify that. I should have done it before, but sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Any other comments? I just kind of want to touch on if anybody has questions, anybody has comments, anybody has input, please bring it to City Hall. If there's a question about anything, please bring it to us, bring it to staff. If an individual wants to speak with myself, reach out to City Hall. We can make arrangements. I think council agrees with that too. If anybody wants to speak with anyone individually, I'm not trying to put phone numbers out there, but the best environment for a community to be its best and operate the best is to have a table where we can all sit at, a table where we can bring all of our concerns in and be able to have discussion and be able to have differing opinions, but at the same time being able to compromise and meet to move forward. And I really believe in that. And so if there's questions, comments, concerns, anything, bring it forward. We'll address it. Even if it's stuff we don't like talking about, or if there's anything, bring it forward. This is our community. It's not one person's, it's not one group of persons, it's not one current council, former council. This is our community as a whole, everybody's. And we all care about it, and we all want what's best for it. So let's work together and keep moving forward. And that's all I have. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:01.